a conspiracy that dates back to antiquity, yet is all due to NASA and the United Nations, organisations formed in 1958 and 1945 respectively.
Wrong. NASA and the United Nations running a conspiracy in the modern world would simply be a continuation of the same conspiracy that dates back to antiquity.
What these mental defectives have yet to do is explain why the shape of the Earth is so significant that such a concerted effort to hide its shape would be necessary.
Because if the entire Earth has been explored, as is the case with the globe in the modern world, no one would ever think that there might be other areas to explore, which is just how the people that would be hiding land prefer it. If the Earth is flat, however, then this means there could be other places to explore, since traveling on a flat plane you would not be going around in circles like on a globe, but rather finding new surroundings wherever you went. Land is valuable, thus keeping unknown lands a secret is not a stretch of the imagination, it is an obvious tactic that would be used by people that know about that land, in order to keep it for themselves.
The best they can come up with is hand-waving about trying to undermine faith in their magic sky wizard.
Nope. The answer I just gave had nothing to do with a magic sky wizard, whatever that is supposed to mean. Perhaps CHL could benefit from finding out what the better arguments actually are, as opposed to cherry-picking out some random lunacy from the internet and then deciding that it is the best argument, then making an illogical video riddled with fallacies in a pathetic attempt to make people believe his gross misrepresentations. This guy is clearly one-sided but has to be, because there are other, better arguments he cannot address, and never does. Utter moron.
They can't even agree on whether their flat Earth has an edge.
People not being able to agree on whether a flat Earth has an edge, has nothing to do with whether the Earth is flat or not. Are you suggesting if Earth has an edge, it can be flat, but if it does not have an edge, it's not flat? Where is the logic in that? There is none.
Because all they had to do at some point was travel a few thousand kilometers and find out.
The Antarctic Treaty stops that sort of exploration.
The azimuthal equidistant projection does have some practical applications, but for general navigation, the problems highlighted mean it's an absolute clusterfuck.
The azimuthal equidistant is a projection of Earth that ignorant proponents of the unworkable heliocentric model love to pretend must be the only map of the Earth that could possibly ever fit to a flat Earth, simply because they want it to be that way, for no reason whatsoever of course, except to try to misrepresent people that are pointing out that the Earth is flat. Instead of gobbling balls all day long, perhaps you could consider that the real map of our flat Earth has yet to be finalized? Ever think maybe the real flat Earth map is in fact perhaps loosely based on the azimuthal equidistant projection? Nope, you're just too stupid to consider these sorts of subtleties.
Place a boat, say, every 10 kilometers, so no Flattard can sneak past under the horizon, and the UN needs around 10,000 patrol boats.
So you've not heard of radar? Are you joking?
I for one look forward to them providing proof of the largest boat fleet in the world, comprised of craft capable of handling the worst of the Southern Ocean.
Good grief, so you weren't joking. The answer is radar. How do you even manage to switch on your computer? Please develop a brain.
Then of course they can explain why no Flattard undertook such an expedition before the UN created this alleged fleet to stop them.
To answer the first part of your question, ships in the past were typically sent out by royal appointment. This meant any exploration done was a closely guarded secret, with any maps kept by the king or queen of the time and never shown to the public. If any copies were made of those maps and leaked, it's quite likely that the king or queen would kill whoever leaked the map, so it's not exactly a stretch of the imagination to understand why such maps would have never got released into the public. If you were a king or queen, would you just go blurting out that you'd found land not previously discovered? It's obviously going to be in the best interests of the rulers down history to not divulge such information. Land is valuable. One could argue, but what about the land that was portrayed on old maps? And that's a fair point, but all of that land was discovered by so many ships as time went on, that there would have been no way to hide it. It is true though, that the further back in history one looks, the less land there was discovered, in public, and the less accurate the land looked, that was known about. To answer the second part of your question, as previously pointed out, there is no fleet necessary to guard anything. Radar can be used to spot people trying to go to Antarctica. Honestly, you aren't even making any valid points, but let's continue anyway for a laugh and see what other nonsense you come out with.
Whilst you could just stick a landmass onto a polar grid without changing distances between its locations, you can't do so without changing their coordinates. The best you can hope for is to get one line of points matched up, but then the coordinates of everywhere else are wrong.
Only if you are inexplicably limiting your assumption to the azimuthal equidistant projection, which you are doing, as covered previously.
So what happens if we travel along the same 30 degrees south latitude line for 38 degrees and 13 minutes on the polar grid of the flat Earth?
But that's not the flat Earth. No one knows what the real map looks like. The azimuthal equidistant image you are continually harping on about is a misrepresentation aimed to make the people investigating the shape of the Earth look silly, when they actually have valid questions about Earth's purported curvature, which has never been proven to be there. What were you doing when you were younger, Grandad? Oh, I was creating diabolical propaganda videos on the internet trying to make intelligent and honest people look stupid that were asking valid questions that I had no idea how to properly address. They were all being lied to with scientism, but I just laughed and supported it. I helped to keep that scientism and the globe lie going. Here's my medals.
Flattards say that distances on land are the same on their giant space pizza as in real life.
Your giant space pizza.
Clown.
Qantas fly direct from Sydney to Johannesburg in South Africa 6 days a week. It's a direct distance of 11,060 kilometres.
On a flat map, the planes can be going 50% faster, at 750 miles per hour, without causing a sonic boom. So let's say Sydney in Australia is further, on a flat Earth, from Johannesburg in Africa, than the 6,872 miles it is said to be on a globe. In that case, a plane going at 750 miles per hour could travel 10,500 miles in the 14 hours and 5 minutes that this flight takes. So even though the azimuthal equidistant is a wrong projection to use as a flat Earth map, because the truth is a flat Earth map would need to be more compacted together than that, these plane flights can still work even on that map. Before you say but people have speedometers on their phones these days that can also be rigged, so when a phone is in that area, at altitude, which is all known by the phone companies, it can just register a slower speed. All they would need to do for that is to divide the number by 1.5. All of the software on the planes and in the phones is proprietary, therefore this can all be done by doing it on a need-to-know basis. It's not difficult for the aviation industry to be rigged from the outset to incorporate faster jets on such journeys without the pilots knowing about it, along with phone speedometer apps also being rigged. Since everything is run by computers on these aeroplanes and the people running the aviation industry can be running it on a need-to-know basis, it isn't impossible for this to be the case. Of course, this is based on the assumption that you could not possibly have a flat map where Australia is closer than it is on the azimuthal equidistant projection, which it very well might be, meaning jets would not need to go as fast as 750 miles per hour.
With maximum payload, they have a maximum range of 13,438 kilometres.
We get told this, but we are not all insiders in the aviation industry, so your point is moot.
The maximum speed for a 747-400 is 988 kilometres per hour.
We get told this, but we are not all insiders in the aviation industry, so again, your point is moot.
The further north the aircraft is, the more pronounced that bank is going to have to be, because the tighter the arc is going to be.
The plane doesn't need to bank.
It has a rudder.
This concludes the debunking of the complete nonsense and misrepresentative heliocentric propagandist horse manure contained within Testing Flattards, Part 1, by CoolHardLogic. It is noteworthy that at no point was the rotation of the Earth or its curvature proven, or even hinted at. You'd think since the rotating oblate spheroid Earth has been disproven by now, these curvated fruitcakes would use some rational deduction, but they seem too inept. Until next time, cheerio folks.